So I've actually been in the security industry for about 3 years. My first couple of years I worked as a technician doing installs, and then last year I transitioned over to the sales side of things and was quite happy. And this year we were getting all rearing to go, and one of the guys that I work with he actually recruited Tyler Hatch when Tyler Hatch first started. And Tyler and his boss, Graham Wood, came in and met with us and just started chatting to us about some of the benefits that Titan was offering their employees and their customers that I wasn't seeing at the other company. Our whole office actually kind of made a unanimous decision that we were all going to go over to Titan. And I guess what happened was my manager and one of the other guys that was assistant manager both were threatened to be sued. And so after weighing it out, I decided I was going to be a little bit longer and just kind of to talk to my one buddy and said, you know what, if you were in my shoes, what would you do? And he said, you know what, Tyler's the best trainer in Canada. So if I was wanting to be trained the best that I could, I'd go work with Tyler Hatch. I figured if that's what he would have done, I should probably research it a little bit more and make sure that it's the right decision for my family, for myself, for my wife, and my son. And I went up to Edmonton and went to one of the training meetings, and I was overwhelmed with how many people were there and how friendly everyone was, and they just made it feel like family. I know the head technician or lead technician for Titan fairly well. I've known him for a few years, and I just asked him, you know what, Jeremy, I just need you to be honest with me and tell me everything you can. Like, what would you do if you were in my shoes? And I kind of laid out my options, and he said that if he was going to be doing sales and if he was going to be in the security industry, then he would work with Tyler Hatch, and that there was no question in his mind which office he'd work with. And so I followed his advice, and I took my first leap and went with Titan, and haven't been disappointed at all. Like my expectations have been exceeded, if anything. We hit our first week on the doors last week, and I was pretty excited because I really felt like the management was leading by example. I felt like watching Tyler every day. You know, the first day he went out and he came home with 3 sales. I was like, oh, that's awesome. Tuesday, same thing, he had 3. Wednesday, he had 3, and I was like, man, this guy knows what he's doing. So I could understand that he had the experience and that he was putting it to practice, and he was leading us. And so the next day he came home with no sales, and I was kind of like, oh, well, you know what, like, it happens to everybody. And he said the same. He's just like, you know what, guys, I'm human, and if it was me, I probably would have been a little disappointed and knowing like, oh, I'm gonna do better. And the next morning, like I would get up every morning at about 7:30 and went down for breakfast and just kind of like doing a little bit of studying, and I see Tyler walk out all bundled up. He's got his scarf on, he's all ready to go, and I was like, look at my clock, it's 8 o'clock. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, well, I got 0 yesterday, so I'm gonna go put in a sale before the meeting. Sure enough, 2 hours later, Tyler comes back in and he's got a sale, one before the meeting. And it's kind of funny, I knew that he works until he's done, and so for me, I was like, I have to be in a house because it's cold, and if I'm not in the house by 9 o'clock, I'm going to be standing out in the cold for a while, so I better get in the house. He's a leader that leads by example, and that's what I wanted, and so it just affirmed my decision and made me and my wife more excited about the opportunities that we have here.